Been working on my cardistry here, and what I'm going to try and demonstrate for you guys is how to flip a card. You ready? Here we go. They keep going up. I'm not very consistent with this. We'll see. I don't know how it goes backwards. Oh, I'm getting it. Oh, so close. Oh, come on. Alright, well, I think that's it. I think that's all I got for today. You know, it's magic. Everyone loves magic, right? We all love it. It's great. It's awesome. It's very entertaining. It's just one of those things that we just know that, you know, we'll easily get entertained by. Sorry, I don't have COVID. I just, you know, forgot to drink some water. So let's go ahead and never mind. Looks like I had something stuck in my throat. Sorry guys. I'm trying to make these videos a little bit more fun, especially the intros. The intros gotta draw you in somehow, right? Welcome back everybody, thank you so much for stopping by. So today, we're gonna be talking about product photography. Now, before we get into that, let's just make sure that nothing that I shoot for a product video is sponsored, okay? There are several different reasons why one would shoot a product for product photography, right? Number one, you have a product and you wanna be able to show it off. Number two, you want people to be able to use the product that you're using and give some advice on that and show it off. Number three, you are being sponsored, if you are being sponsored to show a product, and so you have to go ahead and show it off. So basically what we're doing here is we're showing off a product. Now, how do we go about showing off our product? Well, you can do what most people do, and that's going ahead and, you know, taking your phone and taking a selfie with the product. And that's okay and all, but you wanna be able to, you know, do more than just that. That doesn't really do anything but show off your selfie skills and the fact that you are holding something. You need a little bit more if you want to go ahead and show things off. And we're going to give you that little bit of advice to go ahead and do that. Tip number one, make the product stand out. You want to be able to make sure that nothing takes away from the product and that is the sole focus of the photo or photos that you are going to take. Now, that being said, you want to make sure like no minor detail obscures the photos or obscures the eyes from, you know, figuring out what it is you're trying to take a photo of. I don't know why my brain kind of just like, we're gonna make up words and we forgot the sentence that we were going to say. Tip number two is shoot the product by itself or in its environment. Now, depending on what it is, say it's like, you know, some type of makeup that you have that you want to go ahead and show off, or that you want to, you know, showcase for a client, or your friend is trying to sell it and you want to be able to make sure it does really well, and you go ahead and put it in front of a vanity mirror in front of you while you're taking a photo of it, or while you're applying it while you're taking a photo of it. Either way, you want to be able to shoot it. It's an environment depending on what the product is. You can also shoot it by itself, which is something that I do, and it helps a lot. The only thing is you kind of need some things to accent it a little bit more, so it does get a little tricky because you have to get a little bit creative with it. For example, what we use was an energy drink. If you guys are the company Bang, this video is not sponsored by them, nor I am sponsored by them. I just like taking photos of things, and I happen to have a Bang energy drink. And what we did is we went ahead and took a photo of it and we shot it by itself. Now, number one thing that we did is we made sure that the product was going to stand out. It was the only thing that was in the photo. Now, it follows in with our second tip about shooting the product by itself, as long as, you know, you have that product being there and, you know, there's really nothing else virtually if it's by itself that can, you know, take away from it. So that's pretty much what we did, and it seemed to have worked really well. Lighting. Lighting is tip number three, okay guys? Tip number three is so important because lighting is everything. As you can see, there's a big key light back here, and then there's a fill light right here that helps in fill in this space. Now, if you can also see behind me, there's that light. Now that light, even though it's hidden right now, it's supposed to give the general concept of the backlighting, which helps a lot with making sure that this video is actually, you know, professionally well done. And the same thing can be done to your photos. Now, number one, you want to light the background because you don't want the background to be, just blank and stare and then have, your key light bounce off both your product and the background. We're going to use this deck of cards here. If you have a product right here and you have your background right here, it is blocking your background if you're going to shoot directly at it. So you can't really see that. Now, if you light up the background, you create that depth. Now, depending on what lens you use, which we'll get into later, depending on what lens you use, it'll help it a lot. But make sure you light the background. You light the background and then you light your product, okay? And if your product is a little dark or, it absorbs too much light or if too much light is bouncing off it. So I found this problem out when I was shooting with the Bang, and I went ahead and I shot the light on there. I noticed that the light is really absorbed into it because it is metal and it absorbed a lot of the light. So I had to go ahead and bounce that light off of foam card that I used. I had a white foam card that I went ahead and used, and it used that. It helped a lot. It made it a lot better, a lot simpler. Otherwise, you have this giant obscured light that's just on there and it just takes away from the photo, and it just becomes a complete eyesore when someone is looking at the photo. So that's an extra tip for you guys, is make sure you diffuse the light or try to bounce the light. You don't want a hard light onto something if it's going to absorb it and make it shine even brighter. The product, not the light, but you get what I'm saying. All right, tip number 4, 5, I guess it'd be 5 because we talked about the diffuse. But tip number 5, you want to go ahead and shoot as many angles as possible. Sometimes head on isn't always the best angle, everybody. You want to go ahead and try to shoot from the left or right side. And it's just like people, how we have a good side. Sometimes products have a good side themselves, and depends on how you shoot them or where you shoot them at. You just want to make sure you take a bunch of angles, which goes into our next tip. Tip number 6 is you want to go ahead and shoot as many shots as possible. Now that carries over from the last one, is taking as many angles as you can. It does help a lot to take as many shots because it lets you work with a lot more. A lot of times when I've worked, when I've done a portrait, I've done a product photo, and I have the finish, I'm in Lightroom, I'm editing it in Photoshop, depending on what I'm doing, I always regret not taking as many shots. And you want to be able to do that because it does help you a lot. And I will say that it's never a bad thing to shoot as many photos as you can. It actually helps a lot. So definitely take as many shots as possible. Now, the last thing we got here, which is a bonus tip for you, is make sure you're using the correct lens. That definitely helps a lot in what you're trying to shoot. We use the Nifty 50 for Canon, and it helps a lot. It's a really good photo for product, portraits, not so much landscapes, but it's depends on who you are and how you shoot it. I don't like using it for landscapes. I feel like it's not too wide, it being a 49mm focal length, but it does help a lot when you're shooting product photography, and it gets that bokeh background. So if you're working inside, like I said, I don't have a studio, I don't have like a softbox or anything like that. I just have what I have. Put the product on the stool. I had a blank board in the background, and I went and shot the product. Now to go ahead and create more depth, I went ahead and used the Nifty 50 because it gives that bokeh background. So when I lit up that background, it made it a lot much better. Well, that's it for today's video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully these tips help you out, and if you guys didn't know these tips, I want you to go ahead and try them out, and hopefully they do help you out. Again, it's a lot of practice, a lot of give and take, and then you'll be able to figure out what works best for you. These are just tips that I know that work best for me, and they're kind of key tips to help a lot of things. Like I said, the key lighting and stuff like that, that's definitely something you want to work with when doing any type of photography, actually. But yeah, hopefully this helps you guys out. Hopefully this helps you guys out. And if you guys like this video, why don't you go ahead and drop a like. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, guys, I will see you next time. Thank you for dropping by. People ask me why I shoot with Canon. Well, I'm here to tell you why.